This is TWiT.
And I am excited to say we are joined by someone who knows a thing or two about Google and about AI and about beautifully putting guitars on the wall. It's Jason Howell.
Yes, take a look at the guitars on the wall. That's all I want you to see when you look at my video.
Jason, your shot looks
will make you think. Thank you. The guitars on the wall will make you think that I actually play them.
Yeah, I thought you played them.
I don't have any time to play music, Micah. Help me.
You're doing too much. That's what it is. AI will play the music for you. Don't you worry.
There we go. So yeah, we'll talk about that.
There were boos. So Google I/O, should I say it's underway or has it like fully wrapped up now? Because I know there's like post-event stuff that happens, right?
Yeah, literally, I just looked at my inbox and I got the email from Google that said, all right, it's a wrap. So I think it's pretty much wrapped at this point.
Good. So given that Google I/O has wrapped, it's likely we won't see new announcements from the company for a couple of days. So while everything is fresh and has been announced, I actually want to kind of start in a backward way. I would like to know if Google announced anything big at Google I/O that wasn't about AI.
Well, you put the big modifier in there and that kind of shut me down a little bit. I mean, really at the end of the day, this was an AI conference for the most part. When we're talking about the major breaking news that everybody's going to be, that the general user, let's say, would pay attention to, that the news organizations, this moment of artificial intelligence everywhere. And so that's almost all you saw when it came to like the keynote and all of these really big attention grabbing events. But, big news that wasn't AI. I mean, it is also a developer conference. So if you're a developer, there's plenty for you to feast on there, changes to Firebase, changes to how you can test devices using Google's cloud, kind of more devices there. So you can test your app against that. Wear OS 5 got a developer preview. So, as an Android user for a very long time, Wear OS 4 is probably as close to, all right, Google, you're getting there with wearables that I've ever seen. And so I'm curious about Wear OS 5. Changes to the Play Store. There's also, this thing about Chrome OS possibly running in a virtual machine on Android, which if you want to know more about that, check out Michelle Ramon's reporting on that on Twitter or on Android Faithful. We did an interview actually with Samir Samat and Dave Burke from the Android team while we were at Google I/O. And I'm throwing all these out there just to try and make it sound like there's news that's not AI driven. But you put big in there and that just kind of shut me down. No, there wasn't a whole lot of news that really made the headlines from Google I/O that didn't have something in some way to do with artificial intelligence.
Understood. So given that, we got to go back to the beginning. And with Google, that means in the beginning, that means search. Let's start with search. I mean, what AI flavor has Google added to search?
Well, I think the real big news here is, Google's been testing generative search experience for those who have opted in. I opted in as early as I could because I wanted to get a sense of like, what does it mean to have AI in my search? That chocolate and peanut butter moment. Like, do they combine together well? And so I've got opinions on that, but I won't get into that quite yet. Essentially, the news from I/O is that after testing this, they are now rolling this out, I think in the coming week or two to everyone, at least here in the US. And so what does that mean? You're going to get something they call AI overviews up at the top of your search results. So if you do a search query, Google's AI system is going to take a look at a lot of those results and kind of do what AI is reasonably good at, which is kind of summarize, take in all those points of information, try and figure out what are the things you really want to know, give you a summary up at the top that they call overviews. Interestingly, there is no opt out for this, at least for now. That's what I'm reading. So it's kind of, which I think is very telling. This is basically Google saying, whether you want to or not, we're giving you AI in your search and you're going to try it. At some point, your curiosity is going to get piqued and you'll look into it for yourself and see how you feel. But it is interesting. I mean, they showed that off, but then they also went a little deeper to say that eventually, Google search is going to have multimodal capabilities, multi-step reasoning. And the example that they showed here was using your phone to, they had a turntable of a record player on the set, and it had an issue with its tone arm. They're like, I don't know how to ask Google how to fix this. So I take a video and I ask it a question. Hey, Google, sorry if I just set off some devices there. I probably did. What is this called and how do I fix this? And that would then tie into the AI search mechanism and be able to pull in all the points of information and reference and research and collect it and organize it and then give you a step-by-step kind of way to fix the thing that's called a tone arm. You didn't know that before. Now you do. And so that isn't happening immediately. It is happening eventually. But what you will probably start to see very soon now here in the US is that generative search experience up at the top of your search results.
Got it. Now, can you explain the Ask Photos feature? I know that also got some attention at the event.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is interesting to me because Google Photos is one of the Google suite of apps that I probably use the most. There's Photos, there's Maps. I mean, obviously Gmail and Calendar and those kinds of things. But Photos has been doing interesting things with artificial intelligence for years now. It's really a big reason why it's been such a huge success is because it's been a product that people have the need to use. You load an insane data set, which is all of your pictures into it. And then Google rolls out these features that allow you to interact with what feels like, such a deep cavern of images that you want to pull from. Like, I can't remember where this image is, but I know enough about it to try and find it. And they have had search embedded in this. And in fact, earlier today, I opened up Google Photos and I plugged in a search that said computers, and it pulled back a bunch of photos from my long list of, my long archive of images that had computers. So you could do this, but what they're doing is they're increasing the complexity of the queries. So understanding more than just what is this image, but almost how it relates to you based on other signals. So, for example, I don't know if this would work once it rolls out, but you could, maybe say something like, what computer was I using in 2016? Or whose wedding did I attend in 2014? And that's just a couple of guesses as far as how you might think about using this. One example that they gave is like, what are the themes of the birthday parties I've held over the years for my daughter? And it would be able to go in and identify, these are the photos from your birthday parties that you've held for your daughter. These are all the themes that we've identified. And then to be able to present that to you in a way that's organized. And this feature set is coming sometime this summer.
Nice. Now, I'll be honest that I have not really used Gemini much in Google Workspaces because I kind of feel like it's hidden away. In Google Docs, it's the most present, but even then it's kind of, I don't know. But They did detail kind of an expansion in the workspace, including virtual teammates, which you seemed excited about. I watched your post recap, and then also automation. So I was hoping you could tell us a bit about those new features and if there were any that I missed for Google Workspace.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you mentioned that as far as Gemini being hidden and hard to get to, because I think Google's big MO right now is put Gemini into everything so that you don't have to try and find it. And yet I totally agree with you. Sometimes it's not totally obvious, even though it's there, you kind of have to go looking for it. Gems is basically AI agents. And I mean, all the AI companies, that have LLMs like this, they're all doing this now. It's essentially a way for you to create some sort of specific task to assign an AI system to. When you go to, Perplexity, or you go to Claude, or you go to ChatGPT, I mean, these things, encapsulate a vast kind of space of information. And something like Gems, something like AI agents are really kind of more designed to be like very specialized to a specific thing that you set up. And so one of the things that they kind of, showed that off with was, what you're talking about, the virtual teammates, which I don't believe is live yet, but it's essentially, creating a spot within your Google Workspace team that is a virtual person that you give a task or a set of duties that they are responsible for. And hopefully, if you're more organized than I anticipate I will be, but although I'm very interested in this, I just have this feeling that like I'm going to open it up and be super confused and give up on it. But I'll try. I'll do my best. But if you know what you're doing, you can create, teammates on your team as if I was in the office with you again, Mikah, and, we had some sort of collaboration going on and we decided that you were really good at this particular task. And so you would do this going forward. I could then do that on a virtual sense using AI within the confines and the controls that these systems give you. And I think the big power here, potentially, if it all works out well, is that Google has so many different properties that if you're a workspace user are all interconnected. And I think through this, Google is really trying to put the pieces together to make it so that these things connect even deeper together and potentially in an automated way to make it just easier for you to work.
Got it. Okay. And then I think this is kind of the big one, which is, especially given the OpenAI announcement, which we'll talk about next as we're nearing the end. Project Astra. Tell us about Project Astra.
This moment, like being there at Google I/O, this was one of the few moments during the main keynote that drew probably the biggest reaction. Astra is full real-time, multimodal AI on device. It's conversational. They showed kind of a video clip of a woman walking through an office and pointing the camera at certain things and asking questions, and it taking a little bit of a couple of seconds to understand the question and then interpreting what it's seeing through the camera, interpreting what she's asking for. She's not necessarily always asking for something specific. Sometimes she's alluding to something and it figures it out. It's really inferring a lot based on the context that's shared. It's also a longer context window. And one thing that they showed in that demo that was really neat is like, about halfway through the video, she's like, do you remember where my glasses were? And it's like, oh yeah, I remember where that is. It's over by the red apple. And then you go, she walks over to the red apple because she had scanned that with the camera, 30 or 40 seconds before. And it's understanding, it's picking up all these signals to hopefully give you what you're looking for. And I think the real capper there was the moment of the glasses, right? Because then she picks up the glasses, puts it on her head, and then you see what she sees through the glasses, and she continues to interact with the world in the same way. And really, I think that's what's really telling. Like, by the way, I happen to have my Google Glass right here. It's been a very useful set prop this week. But I think, Google has been doing this thing, trying to make this work for a very long time. They keep kind of throwing these hints about glasses and what they can do in the future. And I think we're starting to get to the point to where these separate things start to really converge. And I really do believe in my heart of hearts that one of the destinations that we are ultimately going to get to is that all of these AI advancements do end up in a glasses format, in something that is miniaturized, that doesn't look weird on your face, but offers all of this context. Like, I would love to be able to just look at something and be like, oh, what is that? And to know, in a beat exactly what it is. And I think we're getting there. The Meta Ray-Bans have shown us that it's not impossible. And so I'm excited about that.
Me too. All right. Now I'm going to kind of challenge you since we are very much running out of time. I was hoping you could tell us both about generative AI stuff and then Android, kind of a highlight recap of those two places.
Sure, I can do that. So generative AI, primarily three things. VO, which is Google's their first time showing off their video generative kind of rival to Sora, 1080p video. You can extend clips beyond 1 minute. Donald Glover was in one of the promo videos, so it must be good, right? Invite only for now. Then there's Imagen or Imagine, however you want to say that, 3, which is just an update to their photo generative product, less artifacts, better at text, private preview happening there. Music AI Sandbox, I'm super thrilled about this. This is because I am, I like to pretend I'm a musician, and I'm really curious about how generative AI can work into the music creation process, similar to what I was talking about earlier with a virtual teammate, but like a virtual musician. I have a need for someone to play a Rhodes piano over the top of this, so make one for me. And, it does that. And I think what we're seeing from Music AI Sandbox is kind of leading in that direction. So I'm super curious about that. You asked about Android. I'd say if I had to, just pick a couple of things really quickly, scam call detection, using on-device AI to recognize when you're talking to someone in an unknown number and they start telling you, your bank, you need to move your money over here. It almost got my mom a handful of months ago. Thankfully, it didn't happen, but that one's really close to my heart. And then just in general, Gemini Nano, which is the smaller on-device version of Gemini that you find on the Pixel devices and on Android, just getting a much wider understanding, much broader context, integrating into the core of the OS, and multimodality coming soon to Pixels and later this year to other Android devices. So, AI, it's all about AI for Google right now.
Well, Jason, I want to thank you for taking the time to go through all of that stuff as well. That is, there was a lot, I know. And so I appreciate you joining us to talk about that. Normally this is where I'd say, of course, folks can go to, but why don't you just tell us where folks should go to make sure that they can see everything that you're doing?
Sometimes I don't even know, Micah. Just go to youtube.com/@techsploder is my YouTube channel where I do a lot of stuff. I actually posted a thing today with like expanded thoughts on my time at Google I/O. And then my socials, raygun.fun, which I got from you when I was working with you. So
beautiful. Thank you,
Micah.
Thanks. And we'll see you again soon.
Good to see you all.
Thanks so much for watching this little chunk of Tech News Weekly. If you'd like to get the full episode, well, head over to twit.tv/TNW. There you'll find buttons you can click or tap to subscribe to the entire show in audio and video formats. Or just look in the description. We've got links down there as well.